light. I'm feeling high, my little lady. I'm gonna take it to the other side. You know I used to smoke too much. You know I used to drink too much. Take a ride in my car. You can get me high, high, high. You know I used to smoke too much. And you know I used to drink too much. Take a ride in my car. We're gonna get real. I'm feeling good, my little lady. She's gonna take me to the other side. I'm feeling nice, my little lady. She's gonna keep me moving on. I'm gonna run till I drop to the break of dawn. Never gonna stop, she's gonna treat me right. I'm feeling good, my little lady. She's gonna take me to the other side. You know I used to smoke too much. And you know I used to drink too much. Take a ride in my car, and you can get me high, high, high. You know I used to smoke too much. And you know I used to drink too much. Take a ride in my car, and we're gonna get real. Come on, baby. Let's take a ride. I don't know where we're gonna go, but first, let's dance. You know I used to smoke too much, and you know I used to drink too much. Take a ride in my car, and you can get me high, high, high. You know I used to smoke too much, and you know I used to drink too much. Take a ride in my car, and we're gonna get real. Oh, oh, I'm feeling high, my little lady. I'm gonna take it to the other side. I'm feeling strong, my little lady. I'm gonna keep her moving on. I'm gonna run till I drop to the break of dawn.
Giottos are so good. These chocolates are, what? Chocolates? We're here about astrophotography. What are we doing? Wrong video. Whoops.
What have I done? Ooh, what have you seen? Early at night, got in the fight, in the candlelight, looking through the screen. Now what have I done? What have you seen? You know there's no future in love when a person has come in between. Jamie's gone, Jamie's gone. Can't look back, and now he feels you seen? There was nothing to say, took her away, and I feel the pain, made love in vain. Oh, oh, what have I done? What have you seen? She knows there's no future in love when a person has come in between. Jamie's gone, Jamie's gone. Can't look back, and now he feels so strong. Jamie's gone, Jamie's gone. Left last night, and now it seems so long. Ooh. You can't hear these words I say when you're a million miles away. Yeah. Jamie's gone, Jamie's gone. Can't look back, and now he feels so strong. Jamie's gone, Jamie's gone. Left last night, and now it seems so long. Jamie, come on, Jamie, yeah. And now you feel so strong. Jamie, come on, Jamie, yeah. Left last night, and now it seems so long.
What the hell's wrong with my telescope now? What's wrong with this thing?
The lost Lone Ranger, can I break this spell? Do one thing right, do I make you do things wrong? If I want that fine line, I will always take it wrong. If I just do left, I can hit from the right. I sleep all day long, and then I breathe down through the night. I've seen a lot of bankers, and I've seen a lot of cops. I've seen a lot of lawyers pull out all the stops. I've seen a lot of children with their parents in their hands. I've felt a lot of women who refuse to understand. And I don't think I understand why we're making such a fuss. And I don't think I understand what's come of all of us. And I don't think I understand why we take this world for granted. I just want to get right back to Guitar Players Planet. You see it in the papers, you read it every day. The riots and the fires going on in South LA. The muggers and the government, they're all wanting the same thing. They take you for your money, ain't whatever else bring. And I don't think I understand why we're making such a fuss. And I don't think I understand what's come of all of us. And I don't think I understand why we take this world for granted. I just want to get right back to Guitar Players Planet. Take me. Making such a fuss, and I don't think I understand what's come of all of us. And I don't think I understand why we take this world for granted. I just want to get right back to Guitar Players Planet. 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 It's gotta mean something. It's gotta. All right. Where did my color go? Got your head in the sand. You can't be in control, using a powerful hand. I wanna be you, I wanna see you. Don't taste the kisses of hate. Don't try to tell me, don't try to tell me, don't try to say it's too late. You're gonna push me to the edge, back me in a corner, making me stand in your shoes. Push me to the edge, hide a little color, it's black and white and blue. Black and white and blue, yeah. All right. Cat learns to ring a bell. Rat gets free from the maze. We can be taught to love. We've got to learn to wait. I wanna see you, I wanna be you. Don't taste the kisses of hate. Don't try to tell me, don't try to tell me, don't try to say it's too late. Yeah, you're gonna push me to the edge, back me in a corner, making me stand in your shadows. Push me to the edge, add a little color, it's black and white and blue. Black and white and blue, yeah. I wanna see, don't taste the kisses of hate. Don't try to tell me, don't try to sell me, don't try to say it's too late. Push me to the edge, back me in a corner, making me stand in your shoes. Push me to the edge, hiding in a color, it's black and white and blue. Yeah, black and white and blue. Black and white on the edge, back me in a corner, making me stand in your shoes. Push me to the edge, hiding in a color, it's black and white and blue. Black and white and blue.
Seconds.
What's up?
Oh, there's Eric.
There's Eric.
Oh, look, we got Eric in the chair. We got the chair now. There you go.
What's up, Ben?
It's
Hey.
there we go. I was like,
What's up,
Eric.
Ben?
I was like, Eric is always late. So I mean, he's a 7:59 guy. So he's all on. I gave you props. I said, you're in the middle of a big move, and I give you some slack there. But
Yeah.
hey,
it is what it is, man. It
Yep.
is what it is.
well, we are here, and that ticker is moving very slow. I'm gonna have to change that. But oh my god, it's like 1 year subscription, blah blah. Okay. Anyway, but we're here tonight, and we are very lucky to have Ben from the Narrowband channel, and I know that a lot of people know who he is, and he interviewed us a couple of times at NEAF, and he's been a real kind of staple to the astrophotography community, and it's a real great. It's your first time here, Ben, so it's awesome to have you. So thanks for coming on and chilling out with us. It's great to have you finally.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess we will go into all the all the AstroWorld minutia with Astropalooza and all that stuff a little bit later. But for those people that possibly don't know who you are, why don't you give a little background on yourself and your channel and what you do and how you started and all that.
All right, so my interest in astronomy in general began in the 90s, in the early 90s, I think. I was out chasing a coon with binoculars and turned them to the heavens, and yeah, I was like really wowed by what I saw. And yeah, I haven't really been able to stop since. I think by the time I went to college, I had already been through 5 scopes. Let's see here, and that's actually kind of a lot of what kind of directed my career choices too in life. Was I got an interest in photography because I wanted to see color in the space, because I was very disappointed in like my astronomy books, that I was like, yeah, you'll never see color with your eyes. The only way to do it is to basically take a picture of it, and in essence, you can kind of see color that way, although it's kind of an indirect way, but you get this sense of accomplishment by doing it that way. And I think arguably a similar appreciation too when you do the imaging yourself, and it's because you do the actual work. Because an astrophotography image isn't something you just go out and take. Okay, it is a project. Every image is a project. There are many different components and many different pieces, and you basically have to build that project until it's completed. And in a lot of ways, like none of these projects are ever completely done. Okay. You know, there's always more data you could do. There's always more tweaking you could do to it. So, but anyways, I went to college for graphic design, and when I was in graduate school for my business management degree, I taught the photography class at the college, and I was also the college photographer for about 2 years. And so I was able to manage all the resources they had there, and they had some really cool old cameras. They were selling some of them there at the end. I wish I'd bought a couple of them because they had one of those Mamiya 6x7 centimeter cameras, which I don't know if you know, those are monster. Okay, like this guy here would look like a tiny little toy compared to, I mean, the lens alone would be this entire thing's size.
Damn.
You know, and that'd be like one of their normal, you know, fixed aperture lenses. But it was a lot of fun and everything in it. But then I got out of college and so forth and kind of started my career. Right now, what I do, I essentially do, I guess you could say I'm like an engineer / designer, because I design trade show booths, but I do it all in CAD.
Okay.
And so, I mean, I've got electrical background. I've got, you know, background dealing with unions and building stuff and, you know, construction and yeah, kind of a little bit of everything. You know, there actually aren't too many things in life that I can't do.
That's a good jack of all trades. You are.
Yeah,
Are you more mechanical in? So when you said you were engineering, are you more mechanical engineering, double E, or more?
Definitely more mechanical than double E. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's fun to do, and it's kind of, I guess one person described me as kind of like more of a Renaissance man kind of person, because which seems like a fitting description and kind of my skill set. Now that's probably one of the reasons why when I talk about some of the more archaic aspects of astrophotography, I seem to be able to describe it, translate it, whatever you want to call it, to the average mind a little bit better maybe than most. You know, for example, I was just looking up pixel math. You know, what exactly is pixel math? And you know, you get on the Cloudy Nights forums, and good grief, the summaries that these guys give of pixel math, might as well talk a different language. You know, it's like it's like the average layperson is gonna have no clue as to what you're talking about. But if you tell a person like, look, it's a database essentially, is it? Pixel math basically references a database, and it looks at your pixels and then all the other pixels that it has that have been previously taken with other images of other photographers through other surveys, and it compares them, and then it applies different math and different algorithms to modify the pixel values in your picture, and thus shift the colors back to what it thinks should be correct.
Gotcha.
Essentially. And that's kind of like a simple way of saying pixel math. But you look up a summary like that, and you just won't find it online.
Yeah, exactly. You know, that's why, you know, a lot of people have been writing pixel math scripts and stuff like that to make it a little bit easier for the, you know, the regular person who, you know, normally doesn't really kind of build expressions that in a way that, you know, that pixel math understands. You know,
Yeah.
so you know, you got to kind of know these kind of abbreviations and strings and percentages and pluses and minuses and a little bit of math involved as well. So there's a lot to do it.
Yeah, and today, like my current job is like my day job is I design trade show booths in CAD all day. I also do like some design work for like different security firms and so forth.
Okay.
Like for example, we've actually built miniature cities on these tables. They're like, sometimes they're 5 by 10 foot tables, other times they're 8 foot by 4 foot tables. And it's actually a small city that's all 3D printed and modeled and everything. And all the buildings are lit up and so forth. And the security firms use them to train people on how to hack a city, essentially. Because underneath the table is all of the actual PLCs and major hookups and wiring connections and so forth that an actual grid has.
Wow.
Yep.
And so, like, if the water plant gets compromised, then we can change the color of the water on the table.
Huh.
Interesting.
If the windmills get taken down, they'll stop rotating. If the nuclear plant gets compromised, we can turn on the smoke. We can turn off the smoke. Of course, if the skyscrapers get compromised, we can turn off the lights in them, or we can change the color in the lights in them to indicate different things. So that's just kind of one of the more fun projects that I get to do.
That's pretty cool, actually.
That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah,
pretty cool.
It is fun stuff to kind of work on, and I don't have to do the wiring aspect of the thing. Goodness.
No, that's Eric's job.
Nah. Ben, Seeker has a question. He asks, have you done or experienced designs outside of CAD, or are your designs just based off of CAD only?
Well, yeah, sure. I've used Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, those kinds of visual designing pieces of software. I've also used actual modeling software, such as like Pixels 3D, 4D, Cinema 4D, and so forth. Like, those are things that I've done in the past, in the years. Even Blender, which Blender kind of for a while destroyed my interest in 3D because it was so freakishly difficult and different from every single thing else that's out there in the industry. But I mean, I've done logo design work, letterhead design work, book design, all sorts of different, all the visual arts, painting, watercolor, acrylics,
wow.
even some low release sculpting. I've got a pretty
Have you done anything in SolidWorks?
SolidWorks, no.
No?
Okay.
Gotcha.
I have not done anything in SolidWorks. I know a lot of engineers go to engineering school and are trained on SolidWorks.
Yep.
But I think SolidWorks is starting to lose a lot of market share to Autodesk.
Yeah.
Autodesk owns a lot of different software out there now, and just about every company I've ever dealt with has used Fusion 360 now, which is actually the software that I use the most.
You actually got a lot of questions coming across the chat here.
Okay. Well,
I
think that pretty much sums up my career right now. Yeah, so
Gotcha.
I work for an exhibit house. I also have my own company. I design and manufacture my own widgets and crap that I sell myself, and then I do the YouTube channel.
Gotcha.
Nice.
Yeah, because Seeker was also asking, do you do any 3D printing? Have you tried 3D printing? Do you do much of that?
Oh yeah. I even thought about making some products for astrophotography, and then cancer hit and everything, and so I've got like a bunch of things designed and printed and everything, and they're ready to ship, but just the time to list them.
Yep. I hear you.
On eBay and everything. I know the blue side-by-side rail that I use for one of my main rigs quite often, which you'll see in a lot of my videos. I machined that myself, and I actually did, I think, a dozen of those at one point. And I sold all the others, and I still have the one left. And that's it. I need to manufacture some more of them so I can sell them again. I would love to give who is it, ADM?
Yep.
I would love to give ADM some competition because their products, as far as I'm concerned, from a design standpoint, suck. They are absolute bare bones designs.
Tell us how you truly feel.
Yeah, really. What do you really think about these?
Anthony is not going to be happy with you. No, just playing. It's all good.
They need more thought. They're just like, most of them are just extruded pieces of steel with the absolute minimum amount of machining done to them, which I know maybe that's to cut costs, but I was like, my rail, like I compared it to like an identical product that they had. Like their product, I think, weighed 7.5 pounds. Mine weighs 3.5.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just through good design machining out pieces of metal that don't need to be there, So.
Yeah.
But here, there's probably more questions. Let's answer some.
Hey, I was just gonna say, if you ever want somebody to sell you stuff, let me know. I'll throw it up on my website. I won't take a cut. It's all on you.
I bought the
machine it, right?
ADM saddle for my EQ6, and it was far superior than the one that came with the EQ6. That's all I know.
Oh, there you go. So the first question, let's see. What 3D CAD do you use from MX Quattro?
Mostly Fusion 360.
Yep.
And now I do not print with Fusion 360. You can. I do my CAD cam though with for CNC mills and stuff,
Mhm.
like machines you see behind me here. But for printing and stuff, I use Orca Slicer most of the time because it works with my rat rig, which is my biggest printer. The rat rig, it's the biggest printer you can build that will fit through a doorway. Anything bigger than that, you're gonna have to build it in place, and then it's pretty much there permanently.
Forever.
Yeah, it's never moving.
Yeah. And they just came out with a new model, and then I'm really tempted to buy it. But I think if I do, I'm gonna have to build it at work because they have big enough doors to get it out of the building. Should I ever want to take it home?
Nice.
It'll have two heads too, so I can print different colors without swapping filament or using an ooze block or a bleed block, we're gonna call it. But yeah, I use Orca Slicer. I also use Bamboo Slicer too for certain things, but most of the time I try to default to Orca Slicer because it runs all the different printers that I use. Because I've got some Prusas, I've got a bunch of Bamboos, of course, and Bamboo is supposed to come out with a new printer here this first of the year, and then of course I've got my big rat rig.
Nice. Nice.
Is there anything, I'm asking for myself, is there anything in particular that you are seeing missing in the industry that you would say, you know what, if they would have this, or this is something that's kind of cool, I would design this? Or do you think where the industry is going with the manufacturers, do you think they're keeping up pretty well with, things that people are looking for and hoping for? Or do you see this, like I say, something, maybe do you see something that you could say, you know what, I think there could be something here? There could be something that could be a possibility, or anything like that.
I would say for the most part, the entire industry of the astrophotography industry and the astronomy industry is pretty well rounded. I wouldn't say that there's no missing teeth. Let's say it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
However, I think there's only one gap, and that's kind of really outside of the spectrum of the entire ecosystem. I would say that is in between consumer cameras and astrophotography equipment. There's no kind of like in between that kind of fills the gap between. There's no in between set of products, I should say. Like there's no company out there making, these all-in-one scopes that have the quality of a DSLR.
Gotcha.
But at the same time, like have part interchangeability and are part of like an ecosystem that has multiple scopes and so forth. We're starting to see lots and lots of these smart scopes like the C-Star and so forth. You'll see that at that end. And then, of course, you've got our normal astrophotography rigs on the other end, which are quite complex, and they're usually made of many different components. What you're going to see, I think, is basically a filling in between those two zones eventually. Okay, that's kind of the only missing segment, I would say, is that in-between segment, because like I would definitely classify pretty much all of the go-to, all-in-one type scopes, like the C-Star, as being very amateur, and then of course all the stuff that we use, is very, very, I'm not gonna say professional, but like advanced amateur. There's no middle ground between them.
Mike's asking also, your favorite hobby between the two. Favorite hobby, astro or traditional photography? between the two?
Oh, definitely astrophotography. I really like film. I kind of would like to get back into film. There is an unspoken, unappreciated joy that you get when you get your slides back and you get to look at the slide itself.
Yeah.
There's something about the colors in those slides that I've never seen captured in any kind of digital device or replicated in any kind of digital device. And that is something truly magical about film. And a lot of that has to do with the way film captures and interprets light, because it does it in an organic way. Our sensors and so forth from our phones and our digital cameras, they use 3 different wavelengths of light: red, green, and blue. Whereas film has the ability to detect from many different points. For example, I'll use Fuji Velvia, for example. Fuji Velvia had 7 layers that were in each one of those layers detected a certain specific wavelength of light. 7.
Wow.
Okay, so that would be like a camera having, not just RGB, but it would be RGB. And CMYK and maybe a whole bunch of other spectrums
UVBRI
in between those channels.
Yeah,
in between all those channels, and it's detecting all of those, and that's why you can't simulate film digitally. I know Fuji with their consumer cameras tries to, and they're pretty good at doing it, but it's never going to be a true simulation, and that's just down to the hardware limitation of the sensor itself, because the sensor is using those RGB filters. So you've really just got 3 different data points upon which you can measure each pixel by. You don't have 7 like Fujifilm does.
Yeah. I mean, it's very similar. I find out as I meet more people and come in contact with a lot more astrophotographers out there, I find that a lot of them are musicians as well. And and it's very similar to what you're saying with film, except instead of a visual aspect, an audio aspect from original vinyl records, where you kind of have this sound that you get from original vinyl records that you're not going to get from a CD or a digital output that you would get, from film, which is more or less analog than than digital. So there's definitely some sort of aspect there that kind of goes away once you get into that digital field, I guess.
It's kind of like amplifiers, same way.
Absolutely same exact. Oh
analog
yeah,
tube
tube amp
have a much more warm feel sound.
Absolutely.
These newer digital amps, they pretty good at replicating, but it's still not
missing
quite the
just
same.
something.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the difference there in audio equipment too, but I know that astrophotography too is, and I tell people that because for my observatory, I've taught a photography class for a few years. I had to stop because of this cancer battle, but anyways, astrophotography is the most technical form of photography that there is. Okay, you have to get all the technical steps right to capture the image. All right. Now, once you do the post processing is very much interpretive, and that's kind of where you get to be artsy about it, so to speak. And if you look at my last video where I reviewed the ZWO 2600 MC or MM Duo, okay, we had 4 different people process those images, and you look at all 4 of them, they're using the exact same data. They look very different.
Different.
Because you get to be artistic on that end of things, and how you try to interpret and show what is in space using the limitation of our eyes, which there's kind of limited to like 3 different colors, red, green, blue.
I was answering a question. Maybe this is something that you kind of want to get into, because I know you and I spoke a little bit offline about light pollution and the effects and that kind of stuff. But there's a lot of stuff going on in the chat about some person, Mr. B, is struggling between getting a a 5-position and a 7-position filter wheel? What's the point? So basically, he's looking to go monochrome.
Mhm.
What's the light pollution benefits of going monochrome and shooting RGB as opposed to a color cam where you're shooting everything at once? I think that's one of the concerns that he might have. What are your thoughts on that?
There's a lot more customizability. So, okay, let's answer his 5-position versus
Sure.
7-position question first. Okay, if you want to do SHO, which is sulfur, hydrogen, oxygen, and then LRGB, okay, well then you need 7 positions. All right. Now, if you want 5-position wheel, then you're pretty much either going to be doing all color with maybe some narrowband thrown in there. In that case, you would probably want to do LRGB and then throw in hydrogen or throw in oxygen, and then you would be able to do like some HOO or some hydrogen oxygen or some hydrogen RGB as they sometimes call it.
Yeah, and use that hydrogen for your luminance.
Yeah. In my opinion, the small cost difference that there is between the 7-position and a 5-position, I would go with a 7-position. I have some 5-position filter wheels, but I only have them when they necessitate for a really lightweight setup. Okay.
Yeah.
And I know I started with a 5-position, but once I got a 7-position wheel, I was like, dang, why did I ever waste my money on a second 5-position wheel?
I need more.
Yeah. Because all of my I have some 8-position filter wheels, and even those are full. Because they have SHO, so sulfur, hydrogen, oxygen, and then LRGB, and then I also usually have a deep red, which is in the infrared type spectrum, which I use for certain other types of imaging, or maybe like a different layer that I need to process into something, usually planetary stuff though. But when all that stuff is in your filter wheel, you want to get all your filters in your filter wheel, have them perfectly clean, okay, and then close that thing up and just forget about it for like a year, okay.
Exactly.
Because I know I just gave my data to a couple guys for this last video, and I think one of them commented and wanted to know if it had already been calibrated because there was no dust motes in it. And I was like, no, it's just keep my gear clean. I was like, you should not, if you have dust motes in your images, take your filters apart and clean them. It's like that's the way you should treat it. You should not take your flats to correct for your dust motes. If you see that you have dust motes, clean your gear, and then start imaging again. So, but okay, now his other image, what was the other half of his question?
What was it? It was so light pollution with luminosity and mono. What are the benefits of going mono for like from a Bortle 8 or 9 sky? What are the benefits as opposed to he's been shooting only OSC? He's looking to move to monochrome because he's heard of all these benefits that you get. So what's the what's the basic difference between the two when you go monochrome and from OSC?
So first off, I would really encourage him to try narrowband. I'm just a little biased there.
Me too.
But here, if you insist on doing LRGB, what you can do is HRGB, which is hydrogen. You use a hydrogen narrowband filter to supplement your luminance filter, and that will be virtually light pollution proof. Okay. Another thing that you can do, and this is something that I used to do in the city, I don't do it as much out in the country now, is there's a Botter moon and sky glow filter, which is a broad spectrum type light pollution filter. It can be used without, it doesn't affect the color balance of the image too much. And you can put that in your luminance slot and use that as a luminance filter to basically kind of like reduce your light pollution in that respect. You are, in every single way, you're going to see benefits using a mono camera over a one-shot color camera when it comes to light pollution. especially since you can basically time the different filters that you do with different optimum times. Okay,
Mhm.
so for example,
Absolutely.
when you're shooting red, okay, when you're shooting the red filter, I would do that when light pollution is at its peak. Okay, so like let's say if your object is kind of lower in the sky, it's in some light dome or something like that, well then shoot red. Okay, but when it's at the highest point, well then you probably want to shoot blue.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yep.
you know, because then you basically would you get to optimize essentially the parts of the sky that it's in based on the filter that you're using. And of course, in green can be treated kind of in between your red and your blue because it is between your red and your blue. So if you've got a mediocre night where you know it's not too low in that dome, but it's not too high up in the sky, well then that's when you shoot your green data, and that's how you can kind of like optimize with a mono camera because you can customize what colors it is you're taking based on what part of the sky it's in your light dome, so to speak. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that's also a good reason to kind of, take a look if you're a Nina user, or if you know where where your meridian flip is going to happen. On either side of that meridian flip, shoot that B, because that's where the highest part of the sky where your object's going to be, right? Because it's going to be transiting the meridian. So it's going to go through the meridian, and then it's going to start to set. So you do some B here, meridian flip, continue with the B for a little bit, and then shoot your G and your R on either side, just like he said, because that will really help you out. Not only as far as gradients are concerned, but it just helps overall as far as the color balance is concerned.
It can also help you capture more nights where you wouldn't be able to shoot with the moons out.
Yeah.
So, for example, I do this all the time. So, with narrowband, like the only filter that's actually sensitive to the moon is your oxygen 3 filter.
Yeah,
and
big time.
it's actually not bad. Like it actually is still it's way better than shooting one shot Keller. But you know, it's just a tiny bit sensitive to that moon. So what I will do is, like, let's say if I've got a moon that comes up at midnight, I will do all of my oxygen data before midnight. Then when the moon comes up, I program it to switch to hydrogen or sulfur, one of those two. And then the rest of the night, it does either sulfur or hydrogen when the moon's up. Okay. And you can do the same thing with your color filters, essentially. Let's say when the moon starts coming up, you basically would do your red imaging at that time, you know, or maybe your green, like maybe when it's low in the sky, you start with your green filter, and then when it gets higher in the sky, maybe you'd switch over to your red filter, and that will kind of minimize the effect that the moon has on your images, and also like will get you more time that you can image. You know, and that's the wonderful thing about a mono camera is that you will have more opportunities to image with a mono camera than you will with a one-shot Keller camera.
Yeah,
you will easily have twice as many nights, I think, that you will be able to image with a mono camera versus a one-shot Keller.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm stuck basically narrow banding pretty much. I still play around. I dabble with RGB, but they just don't.
Shoot Orion with it.
Yeah, the bright stuff. Yeah, I could get, because it's short image. I tell the story every once in a while. I say, you know what, I want to do the Andromeda Galaxy this year. I did it a couple of years ago, and it's hard to do in a hard border sky, even though it's bright. You don't want to blow out the core. You don't want to do, you don't want to do certain things, right? So I said, you know what, I'm only going to shoot 30 seconds. That's it. I'm just going to shoot 30 seconds. I did 1,200 frames of 30-second photos. And I threw them in PixInsight and threw it in WBPP. And guess what happened?
It crashed.
PixInsight crashed. It just like, it couldn't stack all the rows because it didn't have any. And I have 128 gig of RAM. I have a Ryzen 9. I got a 16 gigabyte video card. So I mean, I'm good to go. But I had to make some changes.
Sounds like you need to bend.
Well, yeah, I could have
Uh,
done that, but but what I did
yeah.
was I was able to change some of the structure of the integration so that it was able
Mhm.
to get through all the rows. So I was able to get that stacking done. So it took a couple while. I had to call up my buddy Ron Breacher over and Sean Nielsen. I had to call them up to get some advice and say, "Hey, listen, guys, this thing keeps on crashing." I said, "I don't know what to do," but we finally got, and it came out all right. But still, you lose a lot when you're dealing with such a high Bortle sky and doing only 30
Mhm.
seconds. You lose a lot, and I
Mhm.
don't care how many. I don't care if you take a million photos. You're not going to get as good a photo as you're going to get, like, say, Starfront at, like, 2 hours in Starfront is equal to about 40 hours in New York. So, so
Yeah. Yeah, I use Oztop to stack. I know my last image, I can't remember how many frames it was in total, but it took 33,000 seconds to stack.
wow. And how
Never
many?
crashed. Well, it didn't freeze, but it took 33,000 seconds to stack. You know,
Wow.
I can't. I know it was. There was like 120 of each type of sub, and
Okay.
I did 300-second subs, and I did 600-second subs, and then I did. I think I had like 200 flats of each filter, and then I think I used 600 bias frames.
Okay.
It was a pretty big stack of frames. It wasn't thousands, but I know it was at least more than 1,000. That's for sure. Now I know with brighter target, well, brighter, I should say, backgrounds and so forth. I know getting your exposure longer is probably one of the biggest keys to getting
Mhm.
more detail. And I know a lot of people are advocating these short exposures and so forth. But here's the thing: when you stack images, okay, when you start combining images, let's say when you take one image, okay, well, you have the data that's in that one image. When you take two images, or actually, we'll go right to images, okay? When you take four images and average them together, you essentially double the amount of accuracy and the information that is in that image. And when you take 16 images, well, then you double again the accuracy of the data that's in that image. And then when you take 16 times 16 to get 256, well, then you once again double the accuracy of the information that is in that image. And that doubling happens infinitely forever. However, as you probably noticed, we went from 16 frames to 256 frames. That's a massive jump in the number of frames you have to take.
Yeah.
So what happens is you need to look at it as if you look up statistical bell curves, okay, it's a bell curve is what it is. And at first it improves very, very fast, but then it starts to level off, and it gets leveler and leveler and leveler. The longer you go, the more and more frames you take. And eventually, like it feels like it's flattening out, but it never completely flattens out. And this is a phenomenon that's in all of nature and everything. But what we can learn from that is that if we can take longer exposures, you can figure out a way to take longer exposures, then you'll do better than you would just taking more frames.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, like, for example, with your situation there with Andromeda, what I would suggest is to bin 2x2, which would allow you, which actually gives you more dynamic range, more
Right.
depth in the pixels themselves. And I would just do long exposure, okay, which is actually going to give you twice as much detail if you took, the same number of frames. But you won't need to take thousands of frames. You need to take like maybe 100 or 200 frames, but you'll get twice as much information versus it would if you were to take 50,000 frames or something like that.
Yeah,
Does
well,
that make sense?
yeah, no, it makes total sense. I mean, I just wanted to see if I could do it. I mean, and that's the only reason
Mhm.
why I did it. And it came out okay. It was no A pod by far, but but it was okay. I mean, it's unfortunate, and I know Dave and Eric are the mad astrophotographers. I was, and all these pictures that I've taken behind me, that they're my pictures, but it's like one of those things where once I started to open the business, I kind of got put to the side a little bit, with the Astro. It just got taking a lot of my time, and I'm slowly getting back into it, and I want to get back into it. I got my retirement scope already. I got an AP130, and I got and I got a nice, I got a pier in the backyard. I got an EQ8R in the back, and I'm good to go. But unfortunately, I there's not enough time in the day to do everything. So, that's where I'm at personally. But
Do you have any more questions from the viewers?
let's see. Let's see. Joe Sardina says hello. Mr. B says thanks, everyone, for the great information. Thank you, Ben. You're awesome. Let's see. A lot of stuff about narrowband filters. Let's see.
Okay, well, here's one we could tackle with narrowband filters,
Sure.
and this is a question. This one doesn't get asked enough, but I know a lot of people struggle with, what should they do, and that's how narrow of a filter should you get? Okay, and my advice for people is that if it's your first filter, start with a 7 nanometer. Okay, don't I see amateurs go out and buy 2.5 nanometer filters, and 2.5 nanometer filters are hard. Okay, they're not hard just from the standpoint of like, yeah, there's less light. No, they're hard because your gear has to perfectly match those filters. If they shift the spectrum at all for that particular narrowband wavelength that you're shooting at, well, then you could be completely missing the target, so to speak, and those filters could be blocking every bit of light that you could be getting. And so you've got to. So I would say start with 7 nanometer filters. I shoot with 5 nanometer filters now. Okay. Most of my filters are 7 nanometers. I have some 3.5s. Okay. And I also have some 3s. But out in the country where I am, I mean, there's no point in, like, from this point forward, because of where I live, I won't ever bother getting anything narrower than 5 nanometers.
I don't blame you.
Okay. If you're in the city where, it's a Bortle 7, Bortle 8, I know, then eventually you're going to want to get to the point where you can shoot with 3 nanometer or something like that. But you should get some experience first.
Yeah.
And even a 7 nanometer filter is going to do a fantastic job of reducing the amount of light pollution. I know a 7 nanometer filter, I think, reduces light pollution by a factor of like 90 or something like that.
Yep.
It's a significant amount, and it'll be way better than the days that you were shooting one-shot Keller and so forth. I know. I think a 5 nanometer filter is around 120x light pollution reduction is what you're looking at right there, and switching from like 5 nanometers all the way to like 2.5 or 3 is not that huge of an improvement.
Yeah, okay? It's not.
The improvement is a diminishing return as you go narrower and narrower. It's when you first hit those single digits in filter bandpass that you start seeing the massive improvements. I know there's some 12 nanometer filters out there and 10 nanometer filters, and those are kind of getting phased out. I think as basically making these narrower filters has become a lot cheaper because so many people are doing it now.
And the coatings have gotten so much better. So
yes. And that was something else I was going to warn people about, is that with narrower filters, the quality control levels, the standards are much, much astronomically higher. And if there is anything wrong with your filter, it won't work.
Yep.
Okay. And you need to be a photographer who can look at your data and instantly know, okay, is that my scope? Is that my filter? Is that me? Okay. And because I've had bad filters, most of the time it's the O3 filter. Okay. Those are the ones that are the hardest to make. Okay. Most companies have the largest number of quality control issues with the O3 filter. because it's the hardest to make. Okay, it's the hardest one to get anti-reflection coatings to work with that particular spectrum, and also to work with, you know, bonding to the glass and so forth.
Sure.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's my advice. Start out with something like a 7 or 8 nanometer filter. And then when you get a little bit better, you try some 5s or some 6s. And then when you've got like 3 years under your belt, then I would
Get the
say,
3s.
yeah, hit the 3s.
If you know, just to if your sky needs it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, just to your
Yeah.
point, you know, if you're in a Portal 4, Portal 5, to your point, you may not
If you're in a
need
Portal 6, I would say there's no reason to go past 5 nanometer.
yeah, 5. So, you know, me in my position where you're dealing with a 45 degree light dome from Manhattan and you're at a Portal 8 sky, I bought the 3s and I never looked back. Never looked back. It was just an unbelievable difference in the contrast of the sky. And, but because my sky was so atrocious that I needed that kind of protection. Now, you know, 4, 5, 6 even, you know, you don't have to spend that kind of money. You know, if you want to, feel free. It's astroworldtelescopes.com and you can just, you know, you can do that.
Shameless plug.
But it's like, you know, if you have a question, actually there's a bunch more questions out there. I don't want to take up a lot of time on this, but you know, talk to somebody, you know, talk to somebody in the know, talk to somebody in your club that does astrophotography and say, hey, I'm looking at going narrowband. What do you use? What do I need to combat these skies where I'm living in?
Right. And I mean, in the cost, you're talking the cost could be quite significant, you know, if you're on a budget, because if you look at the Aunt Leah 4.5 inch, you know, you look at a 2-inch, that's about $280. But you look at a 3 nanometer, it's almost 400. So it's like 400. So you're saving, you know. Also, you have to be a bit more budget conscious. And to your point, Ben, when you get to a certain point, check your skies. And if your skies aren't, you know,
if they don't mandate
that, you know, if you're not in that light dome, like say, like Dan or, you know, or Dave here in that light dome where you're fighting, you know, Portal 8, 9 skies, and you're in a Portal 6, yeah, I would say you're probably, you know, wasting money. That's just my opinion, because you're not going to get the benefit out of it. You know,
when I started, I went the cheaper route and bought the S5Ep78. You know, I think they were 7 nanometer, and the HA was actually pretty good. The S2 wasn't bad, but the 03, the halos were horrible.
Oh yeah,
and it was just that was. So then once I saved up enough, I went to the 3 nanometer Optolons, and they've been amazing. So, and that's what I've used ever since.
I would also too advise people that if you're on a budget, there's an order in which you should buy those filters. Like you don't have to buy all 3 at the same time. Okay. What you can do is you can go if you're new to narrowband, I would suggest just buying a hydrogen filter, and that's it. And basically take some black and white pictures. And the beauty is you'll be able to come back and you'll be able to turn those into color later on, just add more data to them. But, you know, start with the hydrogen filter first. You'll be blown away with what you'll see, of course, with it. And then get an O3 filter next. Okay, that should be your second filter. Because with that, you can then do HOO, okay, which will get you a color picture. And it'll be a color picture that will kind of look natural, like what our eyes see. And so it's actually really popular with a lot of people. A lot of people don't ever go past HOO. Okay? And then finally, your last filter should be your sulfur filter. So what you can do is you can actually spread that out over a year. You know, every 4 months you buy one of those filters and kind of gradually get yourself into it. And then it's not a huge financial commitment all at once. And on top of that, you get to kind of learn each filter by themselves and get better with each of them.
Secret was asking, what about me being in a Bortle 1.5 or a Bortle 2? What nanometer do I use for future reference?
He's lucky. He can use like 7 or 8s or something.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Yeah.
Say, like,
I would be shooting one shot color with a dual band at 1.5. I'd be like, you know, you know, don't worry about it. You get the 571, get that dual band, and have a day.
Yeah.
Oh, there's always a reason to shoot narrowband. Like,
Yeah,
even when you're
there
out,
is.
like I've been under Bortle 1 skies out in Colorado, and when the moon's up, yeah, it's like being in the city.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Especially if there's snow on the ground too.
Oh yeah, it was really bright then. Yeah, so there's a reason to have like narrowband, even if you live in a Bortle 1. I mean, for crying out loud, the Hubble Space Telescope is in space. It's an Bortle 0, and it primarily shoots through narrowband filters.
Yeah. You know, it's really interesting because, you know what, to your point, and you know, even in the darkest of dark skies. I mean, I was in Nebraska for the Nebraska Star Party 2 summers ago, and you know, Bortle 2-ish. You know, I mean, it was pretty decent. Apparently it wasn't as dark as it has been in prior years because of some high cloud reflections, maybe. But it was really cool, and I was shooting HA03, and you know, let me tell you, I mean, and I also had a second one. I had an RGB. I was doing I was doing the Seahorse Nebula, and let me tell you, I shot OSC on that, and I got about 3 hours on it, maybe 2 hours, and it was amazing. I got in 2 hours what would have taken me probably about 30 hours in New York, if not more, in New York to get, because it was just literally the first image popped up and you saw the seahorse and you saw the definition of the seahorse.
Yeah.
And that was only like a 2.5, 3 minute image in a Bortle 2 sky. It's amazing what skies will do for you.
Something else I'll advise people, like, even though I'm a hardcore narrowband guy, if you're going to a star party that's on a new moon and you're in like a dark sky, leave your narrowband filters home.
Yeah.
shoot RGB or one shot color, because
dark nebula, you can't get that kind of stuff where we are.
Yeah. You can't get that at home, you know. Absolutely. I've seen guys go to Cherry Springs every new moon and go up there and shoot 03, their narrowband filters at like 5 nanometers. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, that doesn't make that kills me. You know, as in that's why I just through Cherry Springs, I bring a 20. I bring the infamous 2600C that's been on permanent loan for like 3 years. And Bob, if you're still out there, I still have your camera. So you know, it's like this guy, great guy, lent me for 1 year. I was going to Cherry Springs. I said, I want a one-shot color camera. Can I borrow you 2600? Like, yeah, sure, no problem. So I have it. And I say, Bob, it's ready. He's like, nah, just hold on to it. It's fine. It's been three and a half years now since I've had the camera. And it's like now it's on permanent loan on my 26 on my FRA 400 when I bring it out to Cherry Springs as my mobile kind of get up and go kind of thing.
Yeah, I know. I have 2 one-shot color cameras that are Astro cameras, but besides these guys,
right?
And that's my 2600 MC from ZWO, and then I have a Orion G21. May they rest in peace.
Wow,
which is the IMX 269 sensor in it, which is actually a really cool sensor because it's a 20 megapixel sensor, 3.3 microns, no amp glow. So it's very easy to process, and it's actually about just as sensitive as a 2600 is, only it's a 4/3 type sensor.
Yep.
So like it's really nice, easy match to a lot of my scopes and stuff. I just the software to run it, I have to use a laptop. I hate using a laptop. I mean, I was out there using it not too long ago, and I was like, gee whiz, I've been out here 3 hours, and I hardly have just started actually taking pictures of this
Oof.
stupid thing.
Oh man.
Whereas my mono cameras, because they hook up to my ASI Air, I bring them out, I polar line them, and in 10 minutes I am in bed.
Yeah, exactly.
And everything else is automated.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that's been awesome over the past, 7 or 8 years is the total automation of imaging. And from acquisition to meridian flips to guiding to whatever, everything is kind of very, very automated now. I guess the question is it better or worse when everything's automated?
I get
think
more
mine's a lot
sleep.
better.
I was going to say I get more sleep.
I don't know what sleep is anymore, but
Yeah. Because if I lose a night because maybe something was wrong in the program or something like that, who cares? I'm gonna have a lot more nights. And let me put it this way: because of automation, I really do get more imaging done.
yeah.
Yeah.
Even if the machine screws up, I still end up overall big picture. I get more imaging done because I set the equipment out more often.
Yeah.
And yeah, you set up every time you image, or do you have a permanent setup where it's there?
All my equipment, all my equipment's set up all in one piece, and I take them out all in one piece, each rig, and plop them down the driveway and polar line them, and then I go in. It's so yeah. I don't have a dome or observatory. I would have started building my observatory by now if it wasn't for this cancer.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
can't start any big building
mine's
projects.
permanently set up on the back deck, so I just cover it. So in the morning, I just turn everything off, throw the cover over it. If it's going to be good, all I have to do is uncover it, flip the switch, log into it.
How
set it.
how connected is your house to your deck?
Pretty connected. Pretty
Yeah.
connected. But I don't get any vibration issues. The only time I get vibration issues is when my dog has to go out. He goes out the dog door and down the stairs on the back deck, and it might shake it.
All of a sudden, his PhD guiding is like a bad EKG.
But it recovers quick enough. And
Yeah.
Once he comes back in, I might lose a frame. It's not that big a deal.
Oh.
Did
you got any other questions?
Did you guys answer the question from Tom?
No, not yet. No.
Yeah, Tom Peter was asking, what scopes do you use the most?
Well, for me, it's refractors, of course. I have Max. I have Newtonians. I do not have any RCs. I would love to get an RC, but when I do get an RC, I'm going to get a 16-inch. I'm going to go all out.
When you're going to lose, lose big.
Yeah. I've used RCs before. They don't intimidate me.
Oh, I'm totally intimidated.
Yeah.
I'm totally.
But anyways, for now, basically refractors. So I have 3 refractors that I use primarily, and I was actually kind of talking to Dan about this beforehand. So I have a 122 Apo triplet from SV Bunny, which I use and I really like a lot. It's actually a perfect match for the mono duo because it has a nice big imaging circle. It's very bright out to the edge where that guiding camera is. And then I have a Sharpstar 61 EDPH Mark II. Okay, one of the ones that they screwed up the design when they went from a doublet to a triplet design. And that one there I use quite a bit as well. And then I have now the mouse that those are on. So these SV Boney 122 is on an AM5, and then the Sharpstar is on a little Ioptron IEQ 25, I think it is. It's one of the old ones that didn't have had the older motors, the ones that make a lot more noise, but it guides great. So, it tracks really nice. And then I also have an SV Boney 102 millimeter E doublet, which is an Apple-ish scope. It's not like a true Apple. I don't use it for one-shot color work. I use it either for entirely with mono cameras, and that is on my Ioptron 45 Pro, which is actually my heaviest rig. I know sometimes I have 2 scopes on that thing. And when I have 2 scopes on that thing, it weighs as much as I do, and I carry it all out there in one shot.
Wow.
Yeah, I basically put the head of the thing on my shoulder, and then I kind of tilt it
Dead
back
man
and
carry it.
Yeah.
dead man carry it, basically. Yeah.
Yep.
So do you primarily use the ASI Air for all your imaging, or do you also mix up Nina? You have Nina in the mix as well.
Never used Nina.
Never used Nina. Okay.
Yeah, I have never used Nina, and I've used, let's see here. Let me look at my software. So I've used the ASI Studio, which has their own capture software. I've used an Indigo A1 software, which is by a company called Cloudmakers over in Europe. They used to make their software exclusively for the Mac, but now it runs on the PC and on Linux. And their software is actually pretty nice. It's just not very well known. And what else have I used? I think I've used Fire Capture. I've used what was the other one? I just bought it recently too. It is here. I'm looking it up. StellarMate. There we go.
StellarMate.
Okay, StellarMate. Okay.
StellarMate, which is I think Ecos 5.
Ecos, yeah.
Yeah, Ecos, yeah, is the system that it's connected to. Although I don't really figured out how to use it yet. Who knows if I will. Usually with this stuff, like if I can't figure it out, I hand it to my wife and say, "Could you figure this out for me?" My wife is actually really techy with computers. I'm quickly getting to that old fart. Oh, there's another update. I have to make changes to my lifestyle. Oh,
it works. Why you gotta break it?
Exactly. Oh, it's like every time Apple, like when Tim Cook does his keynote, he's like, "Oh, we've added this feature in," and I'm like, "No, you bozo! You deleted that feature 5 years ago. Now you're bringing it back and calling it new." No.
Yeah. Not only did you add a new feature, but you broke 4 of the features that I like the spell check.
Oh yeah. Oh.
Seeker said he had a question from a while ago. Never got answered. You have to go back a bit. It was referring to 5/7 position. I thought we answered that question. No?
We did.
I thought we did.
I thought we did. Danny Sakari had a question right after Tom's. Do you usually buy your gear for the filter or buy all the gear and then look for a filter that can fit it, basically?
Oh, that's a really good question. So I usually buy my filters and then have built my gear around the filter, so to speak. So for example, like almost all my filters, okay, are optimized for scopes between f3.5 and f8.
Okay.
And so all the scopes that I bought are in a speed range that is in that zone. Obviously, because I have those types of filters, I don't have any f2 hyperstars.
Gotcha.
Okay.
And next, I think hyperstars is pretty much the only guys that you're going to have to worry about with filter like major
color shifts.
Basically color shift, band shifts that will like push you out of the transmission spectrum of your narrowband filter. You know, the hyperstars are the ones that you have to watch out for. Most of the other scopes are fairly easy to do. It's when you start getting into the really narrowband filters, then you got to be more careful. Okay.
Yep.
Even if it says that it works with a scope all the way down to f3.5, I wouldn't throw an f3.6 scope behind that.
Right.
That 2.5 nanometer filter. I would never do that.
No.
I basically
Absolutely
find
not.
a scope that was dead nuts right in the middle of its range. Okay, so if it's a filter that is good for f7 to f3, then I would look for something that was
Like
around
an F5
f5.
scope. Yeah, like a
Okay.
FRA 400 or something like that.
Yeah, and I know. Yeah, Eric and I were talking about this earlier before we got on camera. Is that like I would like to get a new scope, and the next scope that I want to get is going to be within the range of my filters, but it'll be kind of close. But I'm not using really narrow filters with it. I'm going to shoot 5 nanometer filters with it, so they're a little bit more forgiving than like if I was using 3 nanometer filters. But it's maybe going to be an FRA 500 or maybe the 600, but I'm going to use a focal reducer with it, so I'll be shooting f3.9.
Wow.
And my objective is to get a scope that is in between my SVBony 122 Apo and my Sharpstar 6180 PH, because the Sharpstar is f4.5 and my SVBony is f5.6.
Okay.
But I want to get a focal length that's in between the two of them. So something that's around 450 millimeters, something like that, focal length.
Okay.
And then that's faster than what I've been using in the past. Now, guys that are using these like the Rokinon 135 millimeter f2 lens, like that's the lens you got to be really careful what filter you put behind it, because it's obviously an f2 lens. Now, most guys aren't going to use it at f2; they stop down to f4.
Yep.
A lot of guys stop down to f5.6 with it because they get better stars, but also probably because it works better with their filters.
Yeah.
If they are putting a filter behind it.
Yeah, that's what I do.
So,
That's what I do. I have mine at 5.6. That's what what I'm using it for mine. So yeah, I don't go down all the way down to f2. So, but I did find Seeker's question here. He was asking, how exactly can you image with a 5 or a 7 position wheel, getting the nebulae using hydrogen or oxygen, and so on, in terms of the surrounding area of the nebulae? So he says he's sorry if the question is confused. It sounds a bit confusing. So it really, as far as the
read it one more time.
Yeah, he says, how exactly can you image with the 5 or 7 position wheel, getting the nebulae using hydrogen gas or in oxygen, and so on, in terms of the surrounding area of the nebula? Well, it really doesn't. I would still say, really, as far as the, position wheel, in the 7 position and stuff like that, that really won't matter as much.
Yeah, that would matter nothing.
That doesn't matter at all. When you want to make sure, if you're talking about, the filters and getting, the surrounding area around the nebulae, don't worry. Most things, at least as far as nebulae, most objects are pretty much all are hydrogen based for the most part. They're all hydrogen based. So you're going to, in that surrounding area, it's like basically a huge H2 HA region. That's basically the majority of the gases that you're going to be dealing with. So anything more like you're using for your oxygen, for your O3, that is probably not going to be as prevalent. Right, you're still gonna have it. You most likely are still gonna have it. Like say you have the Heart Nebula, or something like that. You're still going to have some oxygen out there, or the Pelican, or stuff like that. But say if you're shooting the California Nebula is pretty much all hydrogen.
Yeah.
So it just really depends on the target. So maybe he means, Tom's saying maybe he means an emission versus a reflection nebula. Now, an emission nebula, that is when you use narrowband. A reflection nebula is when you can use broadband. You know, there are some where you can use some hydrogen, but I'm actually shooting right now the embryo nebula in Perseus, which is NGC 1333. And most of that it's a reflection nebula because the starlight, the blue is reflecting off of, the blue is reflecting off of those dark, is reflecting off of the gases and the dark dust. But it just really depends on what the target, maybe your target, and maybe I'm getting a little confused on this as well, so you guys can help me out. But so yeah, and maybe it's just your target, really, so let me know, Seeker. So yeah, Eric's best images are his darks. Thanks, Sean, appreciate that. Canada.
Blame Canada.
My answer.
Yeah. Blame Canada. What's Eric babbling about? What am I not babbling about?
Yeah, Eric babbles and I say nothing. So I mean that's what we do.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, Dan makes me look like the idiot with the babbling.
I just wait and then I say something stupid and
then it redeems me.
Yeah.
After he says something stupid, then
it makes Eric look good. That's what I do.
Well, from his question, I don't know, maybe he's just asking like, okay, how do I get more nebulosity to appear in the outer regions of whatever it is I'm imaging? And the simple solution to that is longer exposures.
It's longer exposures.
Right? Yeah, a lot of people are averse to going more than 5-minute exposure, but like I do a lot of 600-second exposures these days. That means that my projects take a lot longer because, obviously there's a lot more things that can go wrong than during a 10-minute exposure. But I got to say, it's so worth it because the faint details that you get in the outer regions of stuff, it's really mind blowing. And you can actually really see how stuff is connected to other things in space, where these objects aren't just unique individual items that are just right there. They're a lot of times there's like inactive, less active dust or chemicals around them that will kind of show you how it bridges and connects us to other parts of the sky and so forth. And that's and to get that, you just got to do longer exposures and more of them. Now, how many more? I often tell people like you should try to get about 30 subs of each channel. Once you go beyond 30 subs, you start to see diminishing return really quick. But a lot of times, like if you're already at 10-minute subs, well, then all you can do is more subs in that case. Which is why sometimes a lot of my projects will last a month. Taking image data of something, which I don't mind though. I mean, it's so easy for me to set up my gear and go in at night, and it runs all night long. And I actually I prefer having fewer projects to process in the computer and better data, because then the data just I can bring out stuff that I haven't seen in other pictures yet.
Sure.
So where are you shooting from? Like what area of the United States, and how often you get in clear skies?
I am in northern. Well, I'm in central PA. Right? I'm like 30 minutes north of Harrisburg, which is the capital.
Okay.
And I actually work in Harrisburg. Okay? And I actually get for the Northeast, I get the average number of clear nights. In the fall, I get a lot of fog in the mornings. It comes off the river. So my mornings in the fall aren't that great, but most of the night, is pretty good. Springs tend to be kind of like most springs in the Northeast. They're pretty much overcast.
Yep.
Yeah. I know this summer was kind of a little bit non-typical in that like we had a really good early spring,
Yeah.
and then summer was kind of lousy. Although I was also doing really lousy in my cancer battle, so that didn't matter. But no, I have no complaints with the number of nights that I get to image. You know, I think I get plenty. I get I get enough data collected that it's actually sometimes hard to keep up with processing the stuff.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
You know, you got some people doing shout outs for you saying um hoping that you go into remission soon and get well. You know, you got a lot of
Well,
good get well wishes out there. So you know, we all hope that, you know, everything is going looking up for you. So I mean, you know, we've all watched the you know, your videos, and you know, you brought it up a couple times, and you know, we definitely hope that, you know, everything um does work out for you, because, you know, you are a big part of our community, and we all love your videos. So I just want to say that.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you.
Um
Yeah, I definitely like. I'm ready to die, but I don't want to.
no, I hear you.
Yeah, I've got mainly because of my kids. You know, if it wasn't
Yeah.
for my wife and kids, I would have been like, just let me go away.
Yeah.
How old are your kids?
I've got 4 kids, all of them 5 and under.
Oh wow,
Wow.
little ones.
So yeah, my youngest is 15 months, and then I've got twin girls in the middle, bookend boys in each end.
Wow.
Yeah, we found out that I had cancer when my wife was pregnant with our 4th.
Wow.
And so yeah, I was let's see here. I think it was like 2 months after I had started chemo that he was born. So
Well, everyone's giving you you know, be strong. Apparently Chris has been cancer free for 11 years now, so he's a cancer survivor.
yeah,
Um
it's good to hear some of his success stories. You know, I hope I can be one of those someday. Like I have a really tough cancer because mine is a dispersed type of cancer, so it doesn't tumorize, which means that there's no way to like scan it and measure it really.
yeah.
They can't really see it on a scan because it can be paper thin essentially is the way it can spread, and also, uh, yeah, there's no way to like operate and remove it, and it's also my cancer doesn't have a name. That's how rare it is.
Oh, that
So
sucks.
yeah, so there's no procedure in place where like, okay, we have somebody else with your exact same cancer. We just did these steps and they were cured.
Well,
There's nothing like that for me.
I
Yeah.
say that, you know, you said it's a very thin type of diagnosis. It's very thin. So I say we call it a narrowband cancer. And you know, so you know, I mean, you know, it's you know, it's refreshing that you have such a good outlook, and you're very, you know,
Mhm.
I've known you not a long time, but for a couple of years, and you know, and actually a bunch of people want to see you at Cherry Springs. Thomas Duff just asked if you go to Cherry Springs, and yes, you do. You know,
We have been to Cherry Springs every year since 2019,
wow,
I think.
right before pre-COVID.
Yeah. We have not missed one. We even went to 2 years that they closed it for COVID, but you know, half of everybody still showed up and we still did it. Kind of like we just didn't
Like an
officially do it.
impromptu kind of thing.
Yeah, you know, like hey, there was no moon, the weather was good. Of course,
Yeah,
we're gonna be there.
that's
But
awesome.
Oh,
yeah,
so yeah, my son has been able to go to every single one of those Cherry Springs. My first time we went there, we took some bikes with us, and I got some video footage of him bouncing around on the back of the bike with my wife. So we had lots of good memories, and you know, we discovered my cancer when I was up at Cherry Springs. Actually, well, actually, it was like 3 days after Cherry Springs is when we discovered it.
Wow.
But yeah, we love to go to Cherry Springs, and I sure hope we can make it this year too. Well, we'll see, you know.
Yeah, well, you better be in Neef again with the video camera, and you better, you know, come on by.
My brother has the exact same cancer I do.
You were set. Yeah, you told me that.
Yeah, but he's lucky. It's only in his stomach. It hasn't gone to stage 4 like mine has. And so basically, they actually just last week removed his stomach. Oh. And so, yeah, his entire stomach. They cut the whole thing out, and they basically take your small intestine, and then they loop it like this, and they slit between the two of it and kind of sew it all together and make it into like a little bit of a chamber, and then they stick it to your esophagus, and that becomes a new stomach like for you, essentially.
Like a retrofit stomach. Wow. Geez.
Yeah, and it'll take him about a year to like get back to the point where he'll be able to eat like a normal person again. But for like many months here, he'll be on a mostly liquid diet, and it's a big lifestyle change for him for now. He doesn't have to go through chemo or any other crap like I've had to. Because I'm stage 4, there's no point in doing the operation on me because it's in other places.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like I said, he's lucky because, you know, caught it when it's just in his stomach. And so, yeah, he gets his stomach removed and then he gets to, you know, live a normal life.
Eat ice cream.
Yep.
Ice cream and Jello and lots of water.
So,
any other questions?
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, I've got one. What's been your favorite target to image so far, you know, in your astrophotography journey? Is there one that you just love to go back to every once in a while, like you would say is like a favorite?
Oh, well, M43 obviously is one. I think M43 and the Seven Sisters are probably like the two.
Okay.
Like even though they're big and they're bright, I still kind of think of them as challenging just because like they got very bright sections in them that you have to be really careful as you process that you don't blow them out.
Yep.
And it's kind of fun each year to kind of like test newer equipment and that's kind of like one of the ways I kind of like measure how good equipment is like, and just recently, like, you know, Olympus let me borrow that 150 to 400 zoom of theirs. Okay. And I was able to image it with this camera right here. And from that, I was kind of able to, like, with one shot, like I could see just how much the cameras had improved, you know, compared to like the year or so previous.
Yeah. Nice. Well, yeah, you can't go wrong with the classics, I guess.
So I guess on the flip side of that question is there a image that you wish to get that you haven't gotten?
There's, I think the dolphin head is one that's kind of on my list that I haven't quite shot yet, and another one would be this is the squid that's in the Bat Nebula.
Yeah.
That's a narrowband target, but I definitely have the equipment to do it. I just need to do it.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Requires a lot of time to get that squid. So
I know. Right now, I am doing a composite. Well, it's not a composite. It's one shot with my little Sharpstar 8160 6180 PH, and it's of both Orion and then the Flaming Head and Horsehead nebulas. Okay, they're all in one frame.
Nice.
So it's obviously a very dense, lot of stuff. But I want to be able to bring out the details of all the dust that's in between the two of them. So that's kind of something that I'm kind of striving for. And then the other one that I'm working on, and I'm not sure if I'm going to finish it, is the Ghost in Cassiopeia.
Okay.
And I'm doing a much wider field shot of that because there's actually some pretty cool dust that kind of swoops down underneath it, and then there's another which looks like a nodule or a supernova remnant that may have occurred a very long time ago. That's that's kind of about, I think it's about 10 degrees away. But I want to capture all of that in one shot. And this is kind of one of the cool things about shooting hydrogen is that sometimes you will see the remnants of supernovas. Like you'll basically kind of like see a sphere where maybe like some of the hydrogen is shaped like a bubble in space in spots.
Yep.
And that right there is like, oh yeah, right in the middle of that, it must have been a supernova.
Yeah.
And it may have like dissipated and be completely gone at this point, but you can kind of, with narrowband, you can discover stuff like that because there's lots of them out there that aren't like really recorded in databases, but you can be like, oh yeah, that definitely right there was a supernova at one time.
Okay.
Hey Ben, so do you have pretty much a clear 360-degree view of the sky, or are you limited?
I'm pretty good. We're kind of like on the side of the hill, but I have a pretty clear view. The south is a tad bit obscure, but I can always just kind of go up the hill a little ways.
Sure.
That's nice.
So yeah, I have a pretty good view of the sky.
That's cool.
Is there a particular?
I would say there's no part of the horizon that is 10 degrees above the actual horizon.
Is there a particular type of target that you enjoy more than others? Globulars, emission, reflection, dark nebulae, or
other?
I would definitely say emission stuff. Emission stuff that has a nice full complement of both sulfur, hydrogen, and oxygen. Okay, because then I can do my shifted Hubble pellet, which is my favorite thing to do, and that one there kind of really brings out a lot of chemical reactions that are going on in space. And yeah, that's kind of one of my favorites.
Okay.
I know the Lion is kind of one of my favorites for that because it's got a good bit of that going on.
Yeah, it does.
The Heart Nebula is a really cool one.
Yeah.
And the Seagull is.
I did the Lion for the first time this year. I like that one.
The Soul Nebula is another really neat one. And I think I'm going to try to revisit them again this year, maybe with the short scope. We'll see how it's matching up with this mono duo camera.
So I have a question about that. So obviously guiding with that and using 5 nanometer filters. I take it that camera is just so sensitive it doesn't have a problem.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And I even took a mask, which basically has a smaller hole cut out in it, and it turned my scope from f5.6 to I think f10, and put that over the scope, and was still able to guide just fine. And I was pointing the scope at a section of sky that didn't have any stars in the star chart.
Wow, that's really amazing.
Yeah. And yeah, it's just I know everybody who says that kind of camera, oh, it's never going to work. I was like, well, you're comparing it to something that SIG did, or SPIG, I'm sorry, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. Technology has really, really changed in the past 20 years. That is like saying in 1880 that, cars are never going to be faster than a horse. And then just 20 years later, 1900, yeah, there were definitely some cars that were like, passing horses. So, it's just technology has really, and it's going to get better too.
Yeah, I mean, it's gotten crazy over the past couple of 2 years. I did see another question regarding the Sea Star, and I forget who asked it, but it just hit me in the head because you were talking about technology. What are your thoughts on the Sea? Well, we all know the Sea Star 50, the S50 came out. They've just recently came out with the S30. So what do you think I guess the vision was of coming out with the S30 as opposed to going out with something larger like an S70 before?
Oh, they're going to do an
I'm sure they are, but
S70.
what's the kind of, I guess that the
I
thought
know they told me they
process?
were a year ago.
Yeah, well, the same thing with the CAA and all the other stuff that that took a while, but
I think okay. The reasoning for going for the smaller scopes first is that okay, everybody who buys an S30 and gets hungry for more, well, then later on they're going to come out with a scope that they will then be able to upgrade to.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in other words, you start at the bottom of the market and then you work your way to the top, kind of thing. And that's how a lot of companies, when they are going to develop a family of pieces of equipment and so forth for a system, they always start at the bottom and then work their way up to the top, because higher end equipment is always more complicated. Okay. And
Right.
so for you, the guy who's designing it and making it, you need more experience. So start with the really small, simple stuff first, because it's going to be easier for you to design something like an S30, okay, than it is for you to design an S70. Okay? And that's I'm sure they've actually probably kind of wished to themselves that they started with an S30 to begin with. But I think at the very, very beginning, they weren't really expecting the C Star to be as big a hit as it was.
Yeah.
But it was a gigantic hit, obviously. I mean, like when I went to Cherry Springs, good grief, that was the most common scope there. There were
Yeah.
more C Stars there than there were at any other kind of scope.
I believe it. I know I saw a bunch of sea stars when I was there. Plus, I was able to see one of the Vaonis one. Not the Hestia, the not the one in the middle. Not the Stellina, the one, the Vespera. The Vespera
yeah.
was a
Mhm.
and saw one of those. Those just came out. There was one of the Optimas, but by an overwhelming show of force, was the S50 by ZWO. Was People were just laying it down there and just walking around,
And I mean, with and just with the past solar eclipse, I was
Yeah,
over at Tom's, it had, you're able to have the solar filter and everything. I'm sure there were more and more people that had those sea stars, because I saw so many more images coming out
Mhm.
of the eclipse from the sea star than I think any other, system.
yeah,
And it was because, hey, I can do this. It's easy. All I got to do is throw on the solar filter, and hey, have my iPad, and now I can share with my friends and family. Look, everybody, we can watch the eclipse right here from my tablet.
Mhm.
So it was pretty cool. And but yeah, and you see, even when we have our image of the week, contest,
yep,
we're seeing more, of these amateur, novice entrants coming in, and they're taking images from a sea star, and they're very impressive.
yep.
They are
Mhm.
pretty darn impressive. So yeah,
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 I really
exactly.
wish there was an aftermarket wedge available for it.
Yeah,
Well,
Yeah.
the
That
thing
you could
is,
just tell the thing.
maybe they'll build a internal rotator for it, so you don't
yeah.
have to have the on a
Yeah.
wedge. It'll
Yeah.
automatically rotate the image for you.
I would imagine that might come in the S70.
Yeah.
Okay, that would be my bet. But yeah, there is going to be an S70. I mean, they told me that,
Yeah.
and they were not at all embarrassed to talk about it. So
Yep. Gonna be an interesting time for
It
astrophotography.
is.
It's gonna be
It
really cool.
is. I mean, it's an interesting time now. I mean, I was just over at Sam's Club, and they're selling the dwarf, like the dwarf 2, for
Well,
under
Mhm.
now
$400.
the Dwarf 3.
now the Dwarf 3's out, you know, and so these smart telescopes, they're coming, and they're not going anywhere. I mean, it's just a matter of which one is going to fit your budget, and how much do you know, and what do you want to see, what do you want to get out of it.
It's so interesting that it went from, I guess went from ASI Air to strainwave mounts, now to all-in-one smart scopes. I mean, what do you think? What's next?
Well, I'm waiting for that AM7.
Oh,
yeah. I think a lot of people are like, why aren't you giving me a bigger payload?
It seems like that's becoming a common theme. No, you get the one in the middle first. You got the AM5 or the S50. Then you go back a step. You go to the AM3 and the S30, and then you go forward past the middle, and then you go to the AM7. That, maybe part of that business strategy that you were talking about, Ben. So.
Yeah. Well, I know an AM7 is in development, but we'll see when it comes out. Yeah. I hope it does come out soon, because that's the one that I would like tie a big scope to. I'd get something big for that.
Yeah. Because right now, the AM5, you can go up to 40 pounds
with
the weight, a little bit heavier with a weight. Yeah, so heck, with a 70, with an AM7, maybe you can go 60 pounds, maybe even 70 pounds with a weight.
With a weight, yeah.
So you never know.
Well, Ioptron, they've got a harmonic mount that it looks very similar to M5.
Yeah, the HA69. Yeah.
I think they've got one that will hold, I think, 80 pounds.
Yeah, with a weight. Yeah, and the HAE69 weight they say it can go up to 69 pounds without the weight, and then up to 80 some with the weight. So that's the one that I've been keeping an eye on and trying to decide. Maybe I'll pull the trigger at some point. So we'll see.
The only thing I don't like about the new Ioptron mounts is they're black.
Oh.
It's like I don't like black equipment because I can't see it at night.
So you know what? Wait for the Wave 200 from Skywatcher. At least it's green. You'll be able to see a little bit. So
I was hoping theirs would be white. I was a little disappointed to see it was black and everything.
Yeah, considering the EQ6,
because I can look out my bedroom window, and even like on a moonless night, I can see if it's a white scope and everything, I can kind of see where it's pointed, and if it's tipped over and on the ground or something like that, I can see that.
Yeah.
It's black, I can't. I have to turn on the security camera and take a look.
So Joe wants to know how you did with your Pepto-Bismol Galaxy.
Oh, the Pepto-Bismol Galaxy.
I saw him and Sean redid it.
Yeah, I went back and I redid it, and I'll share it here really quick. Because I put this one on on the website. So
I don't know if Ben knows of the Pepto-Bismol version of it. So you may want to show that first.
Yeah. So
this is M33, right?
Yeah.
This is M33. Yeah. So this is my latest one. This one I just redid. So this is like my fourth rendition, my fourth attempt at it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I did a lot more pixel math, tweaking that pixel math a bit down, because if I go to see if I can find my the original.
He hid it. He's hiding it.
It's a tough one.
It is. It can be very tough. And here,
it's tough because
there's the Pepto-Bismol.
Oh yeah.
There's Pepto.
It's just like a single 60-second sub, and then when you stack it hours and hours of data later, it's like it's difficult to get it to look better, after you do all that to it.
You got to go all the way back.
So that was the next shot, the next attempt. and this is the latest one. This is the last one.
Okay.
I think I'm good here.
Yeah,
I
that,
think
that
this
looks
will-
a lot more like it should look.
Yeah, like how it should look. Yeah, so I think this is the one that this is the keeper.
I love the
So I'm
star
pretty much-
color, man. The star color is awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, it's it overall, you know, I'm not complaining. If I shoot Pix Insight, it'll take forever because we had a power outage, or else I'd show the stars and everything that got pulled out. But yeah, no, this one I think is okay, so we'll stick with it. So,
Nice.
yeah.
Sweet.
Yep.
Pretty cool. All right. Well, it's 9:42. We got some giveaways. I know, and you know, we got some giveaways we got to take care of. And we do giveaways every once in a while, Ben, especially when we have a guest. Tonight we're giving away a $50 gift certificate to AstroWorld Telescopes, and we're also giving away a 1-year subscription to our friends over at IP4AP, image processing for astrophotography, which is run by the guys from Masters of Pix Insight, you know, Warren and Pete Poole and those guys. So we're gonna do that, and then we'll just I guess do the final thoughts and call it a night. I think it's almost 10 o'clock, and you know.
Oh, I have to make the announcement.
Oh yeah,
image
please
of the
do
week.
that too while I get the wheel running here.
Okay. All right. So let me go ahead and do that.
Image of the week.
Okay, so that's going. Let me fire this back up here. And
How many entries do we have this week?
that's what I'm going to take a look. See here, it's coming up, and let me go to the poll. This one we had not as many for November. This is the last one for the for November. We only had 22 here,
And one novice.
and one novice, and only one novice. So let's go here, and we will share my screen again. All right. So yeah. So for novice, of course, we only had one. So, and we will show that here. This was the Heart Nebula. This was by Bill Caspi, I believe.
M33.
Yeah, of of the Heart Nebula, where he did.
Oh, you put a Heart Nebula? Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, he put a Heart Nebula out for this one. And so if I go here to our images, so we can see a much bigger view of it. All right, there we are.
Yeah,
So
Caspi.
this was our so it's very nice. Very nice starless image.
Starless image, yeah.
Yeah, so very nice.
You know, I like starless images because a lot of starless images kind of really show you more the shape of space and the shape of the clouds a lot better than like if the stars are kind of in the way. And
yes,
and I know some people think that starless images are kind of unethical for some reason. It was like really like if our cameras were perfect, if our lenses were perfect, if our atmosphere was perfect, a star would never be larger than a single pixel.
Yeah.
So they would basically be just about invisible.
Yeah.
Anyways, if everything was perfect, if you had perfect eyes,
starless images give you a nice depth of the field too. You get more depth perception.
I couldn't quite hear him.
So here were our three. We had the Fox Fur Nebula from Kevin Rosso. This was just an HA. He called it the Winter Fox.
Lots of different shock waves in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have Merlot 15 by Scott Schneider. Almost 80 hours of integration, 76.9.
Wow.
Just over 76 hours of integration there. So very nice. And then we have our solar.
Dark.
So you were saying the green this year?
I was going to say that lower left node there, that dark nebula that you see there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, that's nebulosity that's not really much different than what you see illuminated, except it's in front of the stars that are illuminating all this stuff. So what we're seeing is the back side of it, the shadow side of it.
Yeah.
And when you think of it that way, you think like, oh, okay, well that one's closer and these ones are further away and so forth.
Yeah.
Very nice picture.
No, I like this. This is a very nice picture. And last but not least, we have by Steve Ibbotson, we have his solar image taken with his Lunt 60.
Sweet.
Yeah. So
hey,
nice
did Skywatcher just drop a solar scope?
They did. They did.
Yeah.
And those pictures that are on their website were taken at Starfest Canada. Because I was there. I saw it. I looked through it there. It's a 76 millimeter 0.55 angstrom solar scope.
I think seriously, because I do want to start getting into some solar, that's definitely on my short list. It looks pretty impressive.
It does. It looks sweet. So
all right. So for our experience bracket, we had 22 votes, and the winner is Merlot 15 by Scott Schneider. So congrats there, Scott.
there you go, Scott. Congratulations.
Yeah. Congratulations there, my man. So we'll get both of those images up onto the website. So,
nice. Sweet.
Yeah.
And that's that's it for November. November is done. And
November is done.
Don't forget, everybody, and if you haven't done it yet, vote for Picture of the Year. You only got about a week left to get your vote in. So Picture of the Year comes with a nice $300 gift certificate from AstroWorld for first place. That's been mostly donated by members. So thank you to all the members who donated for the door prizes and the cash prizes. I mean, we couldn't have done it without you. We're giving away $900 in cash gift certificate prizes to AstroWorld telescopes, plus an amazing amount of door prizes. And it's all going to be done next a week from tomorrow at Astropalooza 3, which Ben is going to be on and hanging out with us on Astropalooza 3. So that's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a long day. It's going to be a great day of nice conversation with some of the best in the business. And you're going to see, you're going to see some new faces. You're going to see some old faces. I can't believe that this is the third time we're doing this debacle of, I mean,
make sure you have your off the rails button ready too.
Oh, I do. As a matter of fact, I just fixed it. So there you go. There you go. There's your off the rails picture. So sometimes, we we kind of go off the conversation. So I got to fix the noise. The noise didn't work, but so it's not totally fixed. But it's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, it's going to be 8 to 9 hours of unbelievable conversation with. I believe it's. Oh, I don't know. We got 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 guests that are going to be on Astropalooza 3 from 2 to whenever we end. So definitely come out and if you haven't signed up for the giveaways, go sign up for the giveaways. We're giving away a lot of free stuff from Pegasus Astro, from us at AstroWorld. We're giving away Move Shoot Move. We're giving away Altair Astro stuff. We're giving away a whole bunch of stuff. So and thank you to all the vendors as well for supporting. I'm still waiting for 1 or 2 to kind of come through. So I mean, hopefully we got a blockbuster door prize. I'm hoping, but you know, Pegasus and all the guys really came through. Thank you so much. That being said, let's do the wheel. I think, right? We got some stuff to give away.
Let's do it, man.
Let me. Oh my goodness.
Here, guys.
Sorry.
I might cut out because my wife wants to go to bed.
Oh, my bad.
Yep.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
hey,
No. So why don't we do the final thoughts and then we'll do the wheel. So that's fine. I guess final thoughts, Eric. You know, we go right around.
No, just congrats again to you know, to Scott and Bill for their images, and have a great weekend. Hope everybody had a great holiday. Yeah, we will see you all next week. So don't forget to make your entrance for the December image, the start of December, our first image of the week for December 6th. So don't forget to go ahead and put in your entrance, your entry starting tomorrow. So until then, we'll see you guys next week.
Cool. Dave?
Thanks for joining us, Ben. It was nice meeting you. I always enjoy watching your videos. So, and you know, just keep fighting the good fight, my man. You're doing it.
Yeah,
you're
absolutely,
doing well.
absolutely.
Hey, Ben. Last words yours, my friend.
Oh, well, thank you for having me on. It's been a lot of fun, and I always like talking about this stuff. And as you can probably tell, I get passionate about narrowband. My channel is called that, and I think my closing thought to anybody would be like, don't let narrowband intimidate you, because it's not that bad. It's science like anything else. If you just put your mind to it, you'll figure it out.
Awesome.
There you go.
Awesome. And Ben, you know, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. I hope we'll, you know, have you on again after NEAF, you know, and we'll get together again. And listen, we love your videos. Keep on doing what you're doing, and it's great to have you on. So thank you so much for chilling out with us. I know your wife wants to go to bed. I don't want to, you know, talk all night, because I could definitely do that. But thank you so much for hanging out with us and spending some time with our members. And everyone is saying in the chat, thank you for coming, Ben. All my best. Keep fighting. You'll make it through this, man, and more, plenty of years to come. So looking forward to hanging out with you again, my friend.
All right, thank you guys.
All right, Ben. You have a good night. Take care.
Take care.
Well, bye.
Bye bye. All right, so we'll get right to the. Let me see if I can make this change. I'm gonna make this change on the fly here, but it's of course the whatchamacallits won't work out, so it'll be Eric's gonna be Ben, I think, if I'm doing this right. So and yep, I was right. So Eric's gonna be Ben, and you know, so it's been a great time. He is such a great guy, man.
Yes.
He's awesome. You know, I've met him a couple times at NEAF, once at Cherry Springs, and it's always been a blast hanging out and imaging and you know, conversing with him. And having his passion about astrophotography. And a lot of people may or may not know this, but he actually started his channel based on the 4/3 sensor and a lot of the Olympus cameras. And it was really cool to watch his channel grow throughout the years, and good to see him. And it's great to finally have him on, and he'll be on Astropalooza too. So it's gonna be cool.
Yep.
All right. So let's do the wheel. If I could do this real quick, and hopefully, let's see. Do I have this on here? Of course not. Give me 1 second. I didn't turn on yet. See, I switched things over to another computer, of course. So it's going to give me 1 second to open this up. There we go. I got 3 mice over here, so it's kind of interesting to do this.
3 blind mice.
Yep, pretty much. Pretty much. And play 1. There you go. Nice. Okay, quick play. All right, there's my crazy screen there. All right.
Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, it's coming up right here. There we go. Close it. High Point Scientific just dropped the Helios star. Yeah, thanks. Open. First, we'll do the IP for AP one. There we go. We have 71 entries in this one. Everybody can see that, right? Yeah, I think everybody can see it. So we got 71 entries, and you know what? In the $50 gift certificate, we hit 99 entries. So that's pretty cool too. So this is going to be for a 1-year subscription to IP for AP, a great tutorial site for PixInsight and Photoshop. Really cool stuff. It's about $110 a year, but you're going to get the first year free because they've been so great to us. So here we go. First one down is going to be IP for AP. And IP for AP is Joe. Joe Sardina.
Nice.
IP for AP. And let me know if he declines that, because I know sometimes he does, but if he does, that's fine. If not, no big deal. Joe, you'll get an email because I can't see the chat. So
yeah, he actually he may have already signed off because he was saying good night all.
Okay, so he'll get it, and if he doesn't want it, we'll put it back up on Astropalooza. How about that? So
that's fine.
All right, and then we got the $50, 99. Look at it. You can't even read the names on here anymore. 99 people are on there. So crazy amount of people on there. Here we go. $50. And the winner of the $50 is Stephen White.
Stephen
White.
$50 make you holler.
There you go. So congratulations to the winners. Awesome stuff. So I like giving about money because you know what? Patreon pays for most of it. So thank you for the Patreon members. And if you're not a Patreon member, go to our Patreon site at AstroWorld TV. And feel free to donate $5, $10. It all goes back to you. It really all goes back to you, and some of it goes to Neef, but most of it goes back to the membership. So
yep, goes right back to the membership.
Yeah, so it's nice to give everything back. We give away in gift certificates about $600 a year in gift certificates, plus picture of the year. The AstroWorld donates $300 to pictures of the year. So we donate about, with the prize and everything, about $1,400 a year back to the members from our Patreon membership. So thank you everybody who has been supportive to us, whether you're on Patreon or a subscriber on YouTube. I can't thank you enough. Looking forward for Neef. We got 2 tables again. Dave's said he's definitely going to make it this year.
I'll try.
But hey, listen, it's going to be a lot of fun again. We're going to have a lot more product there. We're going to have more Player One. We're going to have Wonder Astro. We're going to have a whole bunch of stuff there. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be crazy. So we're almost probably, maybe next year, 2026, we might get 3 tables. So
hey,
we'll see.
More the merrier.
We'll see.
More the merrier.
3 tables is good, right? So
yeah.
Maybe I'll buy some mounts to put around, because I didn't have a lot of mounts last year, but I had a lot of telescopes.
More mounts. There you go.
More mounts.
Hey, everybody likes those.
Nobody wants to win his house. Portal 8 and wires. No, you don't want to buy my house. Dan's giving away the house. Nobody wants it. Nobody wants my house. Nobody wants my house. Dan, how many computers do you have in the cockpit? Well, I got the show computer. I got my Pix Insight computer. I got 2 computers in my rack mount over there. So that's 4, not including the one upstairs for the wife and laptops galore and everything. So, just for this room, I have 4 computers running pretty much everything in here. But the main computers are the 2 that I have here. The one that runs the show, and the other one that runs Pix Insight for the show and my processing. So that's what I got. Now, if I only had like data to process, then that'd be, I'd be good to go. But
different.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's 10:03. I know we already did the final thoughts, but do you guys have anything else?
No.
I'm imaging. I'm up and running, so hopefully everything goes well tonight. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I'll go to bed and let us know in the morning.
Stars look okay, so we'll see. I think I got the collimation pretty good. So.
You got the RC out?
No, I got the.
Oh, you got the carbon star.
Yeah, but I had to change the rear set, so.
Gotcha.
They sent me the updated parts. So.
Nice.
Well, I'm probably doing my last image from Illinois, the NGC 1333. So this may be the last one, but without the pod. So it's back to the old ways, because the pod's all disassembled and all that fun stuff. But yeah, this is New Moon Week, so you gotta grab it when you can.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and right now it's being very cooperative. The weather's being very nice. So, hey, why not? Why not one last hurrah before I take everything down?
Absolutely.
There you go.
Awesome, guys. So, well, I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. I hope everybody had a safe Thanksgiving. And we're getting through up to the holidays. Christmas is coming, and all that kind of stuff is happening. We got we only got one show before Astropalooza, which is Wednesday night. Probably going to be a short show, because we have a lot of stuff to prepare for. And the 7th is going to be an all-day affair. So be prepared to catch us. And it will be on for replay. So if you missed somebody, I'll try and throw some chapter markings on there, so you can see who's what. If you just want to see one individual presentation, you can. And it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a great time, and really looking forward to hanging out with a lot of people. Carlos Aragon, Wilfredo, Seti Astro, Simon Tang. I mean, all these people. Sarah again, and of course Ben. Amongst Sean, I didn't want to. I know Sean's in there. I gotta say hi to Sean. So Sean and Masters Pix Insight as well. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So 2 p.m. start on Saturday. That's Eastern time. So definitely come and hang out with us, and and it's going to be a good time. So, um, can I come on and teach what not to do in AstroWorld? Not on that Saturday, but if you want to come on and say, "Hey, this is what you don't want to do," I'd be happy to do a show on the what not to do in Astro. So that'd be fun. But awesome. So everybody have a great night. Enjoy your weekend. We'll see you on Wednesday for the penultimate show for Astro World Astropalooza 3. So have a great night. Enjoy. Take care. And as always, keep imaging, keep educating, and clear skies. And we'll see you Wednesday night.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
See you, everybody.